In this video, I'm going to go over 3 things that I've learned as a new boat owner as I've taken this boat out fishing, because there's been a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm going to tell you what those are coming up. First of all, let me get this boat away from the bank. Alright, so the first thing is going to be just take your time, guys. If you're new to having a boat, take your time, whether that's launching it, taking it out of the water. Just take your time. If it's your first time out on the boat, you're just going to want to be careful. You can really get yourself in a hairy situation on a boat like this. You can make a lot of mistakes, whether it's whenever you go to take it out or put it in. Let's say a very common mistake is when you go to put it in, you forget to put the plug in. Just slow down and make sure that you educate yourself before you get out there, so that you can make sure that you have a good time on the water and you don't damage anything. So that's number 1. So number 2 is going to be make a checklist for yourself on key things. So I'm going to tell you a little story about myself, and that is I had the boat out with my kids and I was taking the boat off the water and I forgot a key thing. So I was in a hurry. I backed the truck down because I did everything myself. So I backed the truck down, got the trailer in the water, had to run back to the boat and start getting the boat put on the trailer. And once I got the boat put on the trailer, I went up, started cranking the winch down, and got up in the car because there was a bunch of boat traffic and a bunch of boaters trying to get their boats out. So I was kind of in a rush. And what did I do? I forgot to trim the motor up and drug my motor several feet up the ramp as I took the boat out, and I felt like a giant idiot. So what I ended up doing was making myself a little checklist on my phone of things that I need to make sure that I do when I'm taking the boat on and off the water, and then also when I get home, like simple things, just creating reminders for yourself so that you don't forget stuff. And one of those reminders is once I get the boat on the trailer, to trim up the engine. I actually put a little sticky note up on the front next to the winch that said trim up, and that's it. And so I know, I haven't forgotten since I've done that. So just make a little checklist for yourself. There's a bunch of videos on how to load your boat and, launch your boat alone. Just use those videos and make like a little checklist for yourself. A little tip for you. And finally, the third one is going to be just make sure that you get everything right before you get on the water. You don't want to be worrying about stuff. I recently replaced several of the batteries in this boat, because whenever I bought this boat, one of the batteries was new. He told me that it was new, but I was always kind of concerned with all the electronics that I added to this boat. Between the 2 graphs here at the console, I've got that big graph at the front, and all these electronics pulling power from those batteries. I was always kind of concerned with having enough juice to crank that engine. So just give your boat a once over, and you don't want to like take any shortcuts. Like when I rewired for this trolling motor up front, because it's a 24 volt trolling motor, I ran all new trolling wires, and I actually ran wires that are big enough in case in the future that I want to upgrade to a 36 volt system on my trolling motor. So just making sure that you do things right, do it right the first time. If you've got the boat and you're really not sure about the batteries and stuff, you can always go get them tested, but sometimes it's just best to replace stuff like that and make sure that when you get out on the water that you're confident in your boat that it's going to get you on and off the water okay. But overall, those are like the 3 things that I've really learned. If you guys have anything else, if you're an experienced boater, comment below and let other people know what you would suggest for this list if I missed anything. But I absolutely loved having this boat and getting out on it, and having a boat has been something that's opened my hobby not only to me and my kids, but to take friends out with me and get out honestly more often. A lot of people say, oh, having a boat's a bunch of trouble. Yes, it can be a financial burden, but the problem is that, like, when I had my kayak, a lot of times I'm really pressed for time, and it's nice to have everything in the boat. Like, I keep everything in the boat. Usually when I get home on like an evening, I can kind of get everything ready. Before I was having to, load the kayak, put the kayak on the trailer, then I was having to throw all the equipment in the back of my truck. And then when you get to the ramp, you have to take all of your equipment. Kayak fishing, yeah, it's great and stuff, and it can be very simplistic, but it can also be a lot of work getting on and off the water with all your gear and having everything how you want it. And a fourth bonus tip is to always make sure that you have your kill switch attached to your life vest, and always wear your life vest. That way you're safe. You can get thrown out of the boat, and you want to be able to make sure that you make it off the water. But as always, guys, don't forget, get outside, do something awesome, take somebody with you if you get a chance, and I'll see you in the next video.